Okay, I don't know if this video will upload, but in this video I want to talk about the push covertly and overtly in the media to present polygamy and polyamory as the only decent options and the only true options for all women, and how they're doing this while climate is destabilizing in extreme ways all over the planet. They're doing this while, this year alone, major rivers dried up all over the planet. The Mississippi River, part of that is bone dry right now. And the Mississippi River in America is almost like an ocean. And several major rivers in Europe went bone dry, in some cases, and close to it in others, all throughout Europe this year. The Yangtze River in China, I think part of that might be bone dry with the rocks and the sand at the bottom showing right now. Major rivers, not some little streams. And even this year during June, you had a blizzard with heavy snow in Mexico in June, but then only a few miles to the east in Florida, more than 500 manatees died from heat stress, and they're water animals that live in water. And, this year we've had animals that normally don't do the cyclone formation walking in perfect circles as a herd all over the world. And the one incident that grabbed the most attention was a group of hundreds of sheep in China that did it, and did it for 12 days straight, nonstop. And that was even on Fox News. So while climate is destabilizing all over the planet and poses the risk of ending billions of people's lives in the not so distant future, there's a risk of that. I noticed that the media and also a lot of internet influencers, they have not let up one bit on the covert and the overt push to push polygamy and polyamory as the only options for all women and the only decent options. And I just want to say, look, for all the many, many people out there who grew up getting molested or raped by relatives who were teens or preteens or older kids or adults, for all them people out there who got a lot of incest in your family or in your neighborhood, you got a lot of women who protect pedophiles, even if they're gay pedophiles that prey on elementary school age boys through the teens. It don't matter. Because there are a lot of women who hide stuff on both sides of the ocean, because we live in a world where a lot of people, they just want things to look good. They don't want to actually do the hard work to make it be good. Okay? There's a lot of that even in polygamous nations. And when you look at a lot of these people, they fucking kids in elementary school, they fucking donkeys, they fucking their relatives, raping, doing all kind of dirt in secret. You got to look at the fact that for a lot of these people, it started when they were teens or when they were preteens or getting preyed on someone of either gender in that age group. You got to just be honest with yourself that for a lot of those types of individuals, it didn't start with monogamy. It didn't start with marriage, because when you are a teen or a preteen, nobody is married, nobody is monogamous, and yet in all kinds of cultures all over the world, you got a lot of crazy shit going on in the teen, preteen group, because they are at their peak hormonally in both genders, and they get isolated by older people quite a bit, isolated away from people their own age, and I'm not here to co-sign for that. I'm not here to present lesbianism and bisexuality as freedom, because it's not. I'm not here to present polygamy and polyamory as the face of freedom, because it's not. I'm not here to be in support of the families or individual family members across the world who need mass incarceration of men and mass murder of men so life can be more comfortable for their dads and their sons and grandfathers. I'm not here to support them in their need for the LGBTQ community and mass incarceration and mass murder. I am not here to be in support of them. No, what they do is their business. I'm not going to be in support of them. I'm not going to be in support of those individual families breeding like ants and coming down on you. If you have a father or grandfather who does not go bald in old age, he's hormonally calmer, but yet then they want to radicalize him. They want to put him in jail, turn him gay, and radicalize him against women. They want to have him beating the shit out of your grandma, beating the shit out of your mother, beating the shit out of your sister because they done radicalized his ass with prison and pornos. And with the purge culture, which is not limited to America, where most of the people are still white and most of the babies are still white. That purge culture is not limited to America. It didn't get caused by TV and video games. This shit goes all the way back to Sodom and Gomorrah and Siwa Oasis, which is still here and still very gay. So, you know, we can estimate that Sodom and Gomorrah were real, that they really did that shit, because Siwa Oasis is still here. People still live there and they still doing a lot of the same shit. The only difference now is that allegedly they're not forcing it. In Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible, they were locking the men outside the city gates to forcibly turn them gay and bisexual, to guarantee polygamy and to guarantee polyamory and to guarantee access to underage girls sexually and children, to guarantee all kinds of shit for all of the older men. This is what they did. They forced it, and they groomed all of the young people to see that way of life as natural and normal and necessary and the only way of life. And what did they get in exchange for that fraud? They got bombed out from the fucking sky. Meteors raining down everywhere, setting all they shit on fire, just like that meteor that exploded in modern times near an American military base in Greenland, which exploded with the force of a 2.1 kiloton nuclear bomb. See, we need more spiritual leaders out here on this planet talking about faith, choices, lifestyles, miracles, and divine judgment, but we need them doing so in a way that is firmly rooted in common sense, not rooted in ego, not rooted in tradition. Like, while the planet's weather systems and water systems are destabilizing, we don't need to hear about the 16,000 wives of Lord Shiva and how the goddess Sita is a representation of ego and narcissism because she didn't have a co-wife. That shit is, I don't mean to be disrespectful to 90 and 100-year-old elders from India, from any land that my ancestors came from through the Americas and Asia and whatnot. I don't mean to disrespect these elders from these other cultures, but when we have the climate destabilizing, we don't need to be teaching young people that the goddess Sita was a narcissist because she wasn't a co-wife like the 16,000 wives of Lord Krishna, not Shiva, Krishna. We don't need to be teaching that. We need to be teaching people the reality that that lifestyle in a lot of cases is forced and that a lot of men in prison and a lot of isolated teenage boys who don't get a lot of access to girls their own age, a lot of them turn gay and bisexual. A lot of them. You know, I've even had women to confide in me about how in the high schools, a lot of kids of both genders are saying that the best thing to do is to just find a friend of the same gender, opposite gender, it don't matter, and then just have sex with your friend, even if you're not attracted to them. This is what they're teaching each other as a coping mechanism to deal with this culture that they've been forced to fit into, going all the way back to Sodom and Gomorrah in North Africa, the forced lifestyle that never died. And a situation like that, it can't happen because, like I said, in modern times, in 2018, on the Hebrew holiday called 15th of Av, a meteor came down near an American military base in Greenland, and it exploded with the force of a 2.1 kiloton nuclear bomb. The main point is that sins are behaviors that collectively do spread a lot of dysfunction, a lot of lack, a lot of misery, a lot of loss for a person as an individual, and also for the planet and for nations as a whole. And those people who try to promote old dysfunctions as the only option and the best option, they're promoting a lifestyle that has always been based on grooming children to see mass murdering, mass incarcerating, genociding, brainwashing, and radicalizing the men as non-existent. They've been groomed to see that as the natural, normal, and the only option. And as women, we gotta stop giving birth to that. There are hormonally calmer men who don't go bald in old age. They exist. There are a lot of black men in Africa who are like that. There are a lot of black men in Africa who don't have more than one wife. People keep looking at most of the excessive testosterone. You mostly see that in white men and Arabs more so than any other race. The rates of that is high in the black community, but not as high as it is in the white and Arab community. You know, that's why they went through the whole planet, mass murdering the men, getting all the women pregnant, so everybody's mixed with them. Not everybody, but most people are mixed with that. So even in one family, you might have one brother who's more like his white grandfather and his hair's falling out by the time he's 25 because his testosterone levels are too high. You know, and then you might have another brother. Maybe he might be more like a black or an Indian grandfather, and he might still have his hair, all of it, or at least most of it, in old age. You know, it's different. But as women, we gotta stop giving birth to children with the hormonally excessive men. That's the best thing we can do as women. You know, the politics based on the culture of overpopulating and doing violence and fraud against other people, openly or in secret, it's been too excessive. It's gone on for too long. And as women, we got to stop giving birth to that. And I think most female influencers are not going to tell you this.